Hero Tales from American History. By Henry Cabot Lodge and Theodore Roosevelt. Daniel Boone will always occupy a unique place in American history as the archetype of the hunter and wilderness wanderer. He was a true pioneer, and stood at the head of that class of Indian fighters, game hunters, forest fellers, and backwoods farmers who, generation after generation, pushed westward the border of civilization from the Alleghenies to the Pacific. As he himself said, he was an instrument ordained of God to settle the wilderness. Born in Pennsylvania, he drifted south into western North Carolina, and settled on what was then the extreme frontier. There he married, built a log cabin, and hunted, chopped trees, and tilled the ground like any other frontiersman. The Allegheny Mountains still marked a boundary beyond which the settlers dared not go, for west of them lay immense reaches of frowning forest, uninhabited save by bands of warlike Indians. Occasionally some venturesome hunter or trapper penetrated this immense wilderness, and returned with strange stories of what he had seen and done. In 1769 Boone, excited by these vague and wondrous tales, determined himself to cross the mountains and find out what manner of land it was that lay beyond. With a few chosen companions he set out, making his own trail through the gloomy forest. After weeks of wandering, he at last emerged into the beautiful and fertile country of Kentucky, for which, in after years, the red men and the whites strove with such obstinate fury that it grew to be called the Dark and Bloody Ground. But when Boone first saw it, it was a fair and smiling land of groves and glades and running waters, where the open forest grew tall and beautiful, and where innumerable herds of game grazed, roaming ceaselessly to and fro along. Kentucky was not owned by any Indian tribe, and was visited only by wandering war parties and hunting parties who came from among the savage nations living north of the Ohio or south of the Tennessee. A roving war party stumbled upon one of Boone's companions and killed him, and the others then left Boone and journeyed home, but his brother came out to join him, and the two spent the winter together. Self-reliant, fearless, and the frowning defiles of Cumberland Gap, they were attacked by Indians, and driven back, two of Boone's own sons being slain. In 1775, however, he made another attempt, and this attempt was successful. The Indians attacked the newcomers, but by this time the parties of would-be settlers were sufficiently numerous to hold their own. They beat back the Indians, and built rough little hamlets, surrounded by log stockades, at Boonesboro and Harrodsburg, and the permanent 40 settlement of Kentucky had begun. The next few years were passed by Boone amid unending Indian conflicts. He was a leader among the settlers, both in peace and in war. At one time he represented them in the House of Burgesses of Virginia. At another time he was a member of the first little Kentucky Parliament itself, 45, and he became a colonel of the frontier militia. He tilled the land, and he chopped the trees himself. He helped to build the cabins and stockades. With his own hands, wielding the long-handled, light-headed frontier axe as skillfully as other frontiersmen. His main business was that of surveyor, for his knowledge of the country, and his ability to travel through it, in spite of the danger from Indians, created much demand for his services among people who wished to lay off tracts of wild land for their own future use. But whatever he did, and wherever he went, he had to be sleeplessly on the lookout for his Indian foes. When he and his fellows tilled the stump-dotted fields of corn, one or more of the party were always on guard, with weapon at the ready, for fear of lurking savages. When he went to the House of Burgesses he carried his long rifle, and traversed roads not a mile of which was free from the danger of Indian attack. The settlements in the early years depended exclusively upon game for their meat, and Boone was the mightiest of all the hunters, so that upon him devolved the task of 60 keeping his people supplied. He killed many buffaloes, and pickled the buffalo beef for use in winter. He killed great numbers of black bear, and made bacon of them, precisely as if they had been hogs. The common game were deer and elk. At that time none of the hunters of Kentucky would waste a shot on anything so small as a prairie chicken or wild duck, but they sometimes killed geese and swans when they came south in winter and lit on the rivers. 1. In paragraph 1, why do the authors include the information that the Allegheny Mountains serve as a kind of boundary to the frontier? A. To make a statement about geopolitics. B. To show how brave and unique Daniel Boone was since he lived beyond it. C. As a commentary on the relative bravery of frontiersmen. D. To show the pros and cons of different areas for living and exploring. 2. The word innumerable in line 22 is closest in meaning to A. Few, B. Large, C. Small, D. Many. 3. In paragraph 3, the information about Boone's sons being killed was included to A. Make the reader sympathetic to the plight of the Indians, B. Sensationalize the story, C. Confuse the reader, D. Create sympathy for Boone. 4. According to paragraph 2, all of the following statements are true about Kentucky except A. After Boone first arrived in the region, it became a fierce battleground between white settlers and Native Americans. B. It's a beautiful area full of wild game animals and forests. C. It was thoroughly settled by Native Americans before Boone and the other settlers got there. D. It wasn't the property of any native tribe but was visited by natives from both Ohio and Tennessee. 5. The phrase lay off tracts in line 46 is closest in meaning to A. Reserve property, B. Fire from work, C. Assign jobs, D. Put down railroad. 6. All of the following statements are true about Boone's reputation as a hunter except A. He pickled buffalo beef, B. He was the mightiest hunter supplying the settlements, C. He most often shot wild ducks, D. He shot black bears and used to make bacon. 7. According to the passage, who can you infer is the hero of the story? A. Daniel Boone, B. The Native Americans, C. Henry Cabot Lodge, D. Theodore Roosevelt. 8. According to the passage, what were some of the jobs that Boone held? A. Blacksmith and accountant, B. Hunter and surveyor, C. Dressmaker and hat miller, D. Politician and train conductor. 9. In line 51 the word traversed is closest in meaning to A. Swam, B. Traveled, C. Sang, D. Read. 10. An introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the three answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or are minor ideas in the passage. This question is worth 2 points. Write your answer choices in the spaces where they belong. You can write in the number of the answer choice or the whole sentence. Daniel Boone was a great American hero who helped conquer the Wild West, particularly in Kentucky. 1. Boone lost 2 of his sons in battles with the Indians, but he did not give up fighting for control of Kentucky. 2. Boone worked as a surveyor and hunter, helping the settlers both establish themselves and their town and stay alive during the long winters. 3. Boone never saw an Indian while he was in Kentucky. 4. Boone was a vegetarian and worked hard to tend to his garden to help provide food. 5. Boone's hunting skills were so great that the people came to completely depend upon him to provide them with the meat they needed to survive. 6. Boone named Kentucky the Dark and Bloody Ground when he arrived there in 1769.